The Friday Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Friday Sports Show, and in rugby tonight I'm joined by Rob Moffat. Of course, started out life as a PE teacher at Gala Academy, then went on to coach. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Rob. There was Melrose was in there, the Borders was in there, Edinburgh, helped out at Glasgow, Scotland Sevens. You were my Scottish schools coach, I remember that well. That would probably be the highlight of all those jobs that I've listed.
It was, Bruce.
And you've now full circle, if you like, back to PE teaching up at Dollar Academy.
I am, yeah.
So how are you enjoying being back in teaching?
No, it's good, Bruce. It's obviously completely different. It's certainly a different environment than what I've been in the last 14 years in pro rugby, but after what happened at Edinburgh, I was fortunate just to be given a chance to go up there, and it's something I'm really enjoying. I always think I've been very lucky in my life. I've been paid all the time to do things I really, really enjoy, whether it's teaching or coaching. So, but now back into teaching, I'm enjoying it.
Now, you talked about the Edinburgh there, and the circumstances under which you left were controversial, probably, because I think many people felt that you lost that job unfairly. Did you think you were hard done by at the time?
I maybe was, Bruce, but I'm somebody who moves on. I never seen it coming, I must admit. I must admit that. I just went into my work one Monday morning and came out an hour later, so that was a bit different, but no, life goes on, and as I say, I think I'm very fortunate to be where I am now. I think when you involve teaching and coaching kids, that is a pure part of sport or anything, and I think up there is a really good environment, and as I say, I've said 2 or 3 times, but I'm really enjoying it.
Now, I want to talk about various things, but let's start with school rugby, because that's what you're involved in just now.
Yeah.
And there's some cracking players. I mean, if you watch school rugby, there's some really good players. Are we doing enough in the country to try and sort of develop that talent and move it on to the next level?
How long have we got, Bruce? I think I'm not somebody who writes a lot of papers, but I'm going to write a paper and put it into the SIU and hopefully get a discussion with them, because there's a few areas I think I've always thought there's a lot of talent there, which there is. I'm not sure that it's... I think now with the pathways and the system there, I think sometimes the best players are creamed really early, and that's a good thing in one ways, but not if other kids are turned off. And I think really school rugby is about encouraging everybody to play. I think a real... not a sad thing, but I think in any sport, but rugby we're talking about, is that there's a big drop-off from 16, 17, 18. There's not... I'm not working for the SIU now, so I can say anything about them, but they'll say there's more people playing the game. There's not, Bruce. There's less people playing the game, whether it's at school or clubs. So you just have to look at any club now that used to run a thirds or a fourth who don't run that now. They run less teams. So I think it's important that kids at school get as much chance to play, and then when they finish, they maybe play... whoever it is, Selkirk thirds or fourths. There's nothing wrong with that, but they should be encouraged to do that. I think there is real talent there. I think in some respects it doesn't come through well enough. I think we hold people back too much. I think for me, there's the last time that somebody played for Scotland, the 18, 19-year-old, was probably the Chris Patterson, Gregor Townsend way back. Greg will not enjoy me saying that, but it's a while ago. And I think now they tend to be kept in, say, the under 18s, under 19s, under 20s, whichever group they're in, and I think you should just let them develop a lot better. I think the rugby's good, but I think it could be better as well. I could go on and on, Bruce.
Well, I'll throw another one along similar lines at you. I've read a statistic, I think it was John Beattie said it, I don't know if it's right or no, but that of every 100 kids that starts off playing the game, there's about one makes it to senior level. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, is there reasons? I always think that for a start, making them go out and play in the sleet and the snow's no great either, and I suppose it's a physical sport. Folk are going to move away from it, but have you got thoughts on that?
I have, yeah. I think in some respects they probably do too much too early. I think even more so now. I think I'm not saying we, Bruce, because you're a lot younger than me, but when I was a kid, we were encouraged to play, but there wasn't as many tournaments. We didn't play as much, and I think that's probably good, because now I think when kids get to 18, they've thought, they've had one heck of a lot of rugby or a heck of a lot of football, one sport. It's not revolutionary, but why do kids not play both? Why do kids not play football and rugby up until 16-year-old or whatever? Because the skills would help in both. I certainly know in rugby that if these kids played football to a good standard, they'd be better rugby players. So why not? And I don't think either sport should be afraid of losing the youngsters or the kids, because I think they are just now. So I think that's one thing, that you could give kids more sports to play younger and then let them choose later. I think that would help.
Now we'll move away from that. We could stick on that for a long time. But let's move on to professional rugby. I've heard it said that if you were to go about making a plan of how to be unsuccessful at professional rugby, you would just do what the SRU did. Is that a fair comment?
I think that's a bit harsh, and I would criticise them, but I think that is a bit harsh. I think we're still almost in the infancy of professional rugby. It's been going 15 years, which is not that long. I think other countries have had the same problems. I'm really encouraged to see just now that the SIU are back in the pro teams a bit more and put more money in, because that certainly wasn't going to be the case. So I'm really pleased to see that. I think ideally in Scotland you probably have 4 professional teams. That's the kind of obvious thing to do. The clubs wouldn't like that, but I think that is really the way forward if Scotland could, and I think that's what she'd be aiming to do now, is to try and get a 3rd team or a 4th team, because it gets very frustrating when you're in it, in the sense that the teams, every time you think the teams are just getting there, they almost get the feet taken away from them, instead of thinking, well, you've got to give them a boost here, Edinburgh and Glasgow. That word competitive is quite often used. You don't want to be competitive, you want to win. And at times, like Edinburgh were 2nd and 4th in what was the old Magnus League, Glasgow getting the quarterfinals of Europe a couple of years ago, and probably didn't get enough credit for that, because when you see the sides, that Rugby Direct League, whatever they call it now, is I think a fantastic league, because you look at the top Welsh and Irish sides, it's quality. Whatever will happen in the Heineken, there'll be Irish and Welsh teams will be well up there. So it's not, we keep hearing about the English Premiership being this and that. It's not. It's maybe more physical, but it's not better rugby.
Agreed. Now we'll talk a wee bit more about Edinburgh and the Heineken Cup in a wee second. I just want to pick up on you talking about the pro teams. Do you think it's realistic? Andy Robinson said on his Twitter conference, or whatever you might call it, earlier in the week, that he felt in 2 or 3 years we might get a 3rd pro team. Do you think it's realistic? Where would we have it? Has the Borders had their chance?
Well, the Borders might have had their chance, and I don't like saying that, because you think that's what it should be, and I still like to think it would be. Maybe Cali's a place for it. Cali were well supported before, so if he based a team at, say, Perth, they produce a lot of players up there as well, so it's a good argument to say where it is. But yes, certainly. And what I would do if you had a 3rd team, I would make it like a young team. I would make it not a development team, but put 2 or 3 older pros there and fill it with young players, and just say, right, this is going to be tough, but let's see how they survive. And they would. It's happened, like when Australia set up the Brumbies years ago. The Brumbies struggled to begin with, because they were the lesser team. So I would definitely have a 3rd team, and I would also, you've got to not throw money at them, but you've got to support them properly, because when you see what the other sides are, when you see their budgets, the French teams are just ridiculous, and the French budgets are just way out of control as far as I'm concerned. But
now, just moving, sticking to Edinburgh, it's a difficult thing, I guess, for you to look at. But your thoughts on? Well, I was just going to say on how Michael Bradley's done since he's come in. What's your thoughts on him?
No, Michael Bradley's a good bloke. People could say he's probably too nice a guy as well. No, Michael Bradley's a good bloke. He's been around for a while. He had to work hard at Connacht with meagre resources. So. In Edinburgh, I've not got meagre resources, so he's probably working with better players than he was at Connacht, and that's no disrespect to Connacht. No, I think he's doing well. I hear good reports for the players. I think I'm encouraged to the things you're hearing about from the SIU, that hopefully, Michael Bradley will be given time to develop the players he'll bring in and develop his team, because that's what a coach has to do. So.
Now, Glasgow play Montpellier on Sunday, I think 12:45 kick-off. Edinburgh in action tonight down in Cardiff, and 8 o'clock kick-off, so we'll be home in time to watch that one. They've both had good starts. Have we got a realistic shout of getting one of them to the quarter-final stage? Yeah,
it's again, I'm not just trotting it out saying it's not easy. It's not. I think I don't know how you can rejig the Heineken Cup, but in my opinion, only having the group winner in the top 2 seconds is very, very hard, because the Scottish teams are probably seeded pretty low down, so you're always in a tough pool. And I look back the years I was involved, we were often in the mix. Didn't win the pool, but you're often winning 3 games out of 6, but it wasn't enough to go through. And I've always thought if you could get away where you had your top 2 teams, that would be a lot better.